Hello, world, and all who inhabit it. My name is Jessica. My pronouns are she, her. We won! After a few weeks of doing Junior Journey updates on my channel, we have finally taken a tournament with the deck list you're looking at right now. So let's get into it. For first-time viewers, I will briefly explain Junior Journey, and then I'll do a card-by-card deck profile. If you are a repeat viewer or just want to skip to the duels, check the timeline and you will find the timestamp you're looking for. And before you leave, consider leaving a like and pressing subscribe if you like my Yu-Gi-Oh! Content or want to make me smile today. So, the format. Junior Journey is an alternate Yu-Gi-Oh! Format based on the YouTube series Junior Journey created by MBT and RJ. The Junior format rules are as follows. High-level monsters don't require tribute, 1 spell activation per turn, 1 trap activation per turn, 1 set spell or trap card per turn, and quick play spells are spell speed 1. They're treated as normal spells. There's other stuff, but hopefully you'll pick up more along the way. And if at any point you are still confused or interested in participating in the Junior Journey format, there's a link in the description to a Junior Journey helper created by Discord user Lyric. For this tournament, we were allowed to use every card released until 2005 and played with a custom ban list. The following cards were banned for this tournament. Lackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End, Cyber Jar, Cyberstein, Dark Dust Spirit, Dark Magician of Chaos, Fiber Jar, Hinokagu Suchi, Magical Scientist, Morphing Jar number 2, The Creator, Yamada Dragon, Yadagarasu, Card of Safe Return, Cold Wave, Graceful Charity, Giant Trunade, Harpy's Feather Duster, Heavy Storm, Metamorphosis, Painful Choice, Pot of Greed, Raigeki, Snatch Steal, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Deck Destruction Virus, Deck Devastation Virus, my bad, Imperial Order, Magic Cylinder, Ring of Destruction, Skill Drain, Solemn Judgment, and Ultimate Offering. The following cards were limited to 1 copy each for this tournament. Barrel Dragon, Blowback Dragon, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Jinzo, Guardian Angel Joan, Sinister Serpent, Spear Cretin, Witch of the Black Forest, Axe of Despair, Change of Heart, Dark Hole, Level Limit Area B, Limiter Removal, Messenger of Peace, Monster Reborn, Nobleman of Crossout, Nobleman of Extermination, Swords of Revealing Light, Blast with Chain, Call of the Haunted, Dust Tornado, Gravity Bind, Mirror Force, Return from the Different Dimension, Torrential Tribute, Wall of Revealing Light. The following cards were limited to 2 copies per deck. Chaos Sorcerer, Sangan, Thunder Dragon, Creature Swap, and Mystical Space Typhoon. And as for the deck we're running for this tournament, this one's a doozy. A lot of the cards released in 2005 that were machines are really powerful for Junior Journey format. As a result, nothing could really contend with machines in this format. We tried to create a ban list that could rein in their power a little bit, but it wasn't until the most recent episode of Junior Journey where they were able to make some ban list hits that really balanced down this deck's power for the rest of the format. But we get to play it at mostly full power for this tournament, so let's take a look at what we're playing with. We've got 3 copies of Ancient Gear Golem. This card was immediately banned after the new episode came out. Stronger than Blue Eyes White Dragon, and also has 2 really strong effects, stopping your opponent's Mirror Force and inflicting piercing damage. We've got Perfect Machine King, which is at 2700 by itself, which isn't the strongest thing in the format. 1 monster that's a machine is on the field, though, and it's immediately stronger than anything that anybody can normal summon. This also works with your opponent's machines, too, so summoning Perfect Machine King is pretty much always an out to Ancient Gear Golem. You've got 2 copies of Mechanical Hound, a nifty little effect that doesn't come up as often as you would like it to. This card is still very strong. It's the one of the most powerful machine cards that is available to us. We've got Barrel Dragon and Blowback Dragon in their final hurrah in this format. These 2 cards also get banned in the Junior Journey episode, and I cannot say I'm sad to see them go. For now, we're going to be using their power a little bit, though. 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. There was a little bit of debate in the Discord whether or not this card was going to be useful in Junior Journey format, with the 2100 attack being less powerful in that format than in the TCG. In reality, though, the ability to swarm the field and often get enough monsters to OTK all at once is really valuable. Plus, you can special summon Sidra and then normal summon Perfect Machine King for a 32 beater. We've got 3 copies of BES Tetran. I love this card so fucking much. I'm very glad that it hasn't been limited yet. We'll see if it lasts the next episode, but this card fucking rules. Not only is it a Breaker the Magical Warrior that cannot be destroyed by battle, the way that you ultimately destroy it actually involves a fair bit of thought and skill in how both you and your opponent react when you play this card. We've got 2 copies of UFO-Roid, another card that I'm very excited to be running. This card was useless in the TCG because for some fucking reason it requires a tribute, but in the junior format, it's just a pretty good searcher. And in this deck, it's mainly going to be searching Heavy Mech Support Platform. Heavy Mech Support Platform is a union monster, which means it's a monster that you can equip to other monsters. You can equip it to machines to make it gain 500 attack and have a little protection. So you attack Perfect Machine King into a Mirror Force while equipped with Heavy Mech. You can just discard the Heavy Mech, keep the Perfect Machine King. A little bit of protection goes a long way in this format. You got 1 copy of Dark Hole, 1 copy of System Down in main deck because I was expecting the strongest thing we were going to face today was machines. 1 copy of Nobleman of Crossout, 2 of Mystical Space Typhoon. For this tournament, Heavy and Trunate were banned, so we returned to the old well of Spell Trap removal. 1 copy of Change of Heart. This card is banned, as it should be, as it very much should be. This card is an OTK machine, but for this tournament, we're going to be using it one last time before it gets hit. 1 copy of Brain Control. This card is still at 3 at this point. It's like Change of Heart, but a little bit worse. You have to pay 800 life points, which means it can be dead when you draw it late game. It also can only target face-up monsters. Still a very strong card, though. We got 2 copies of Creature Swap. I love this card. If you use it on UFO-Roid, you can attack your UFO-Roid and you still get the effect, even though it was on your opponent's field because it goes to your graveyard. 1 copy of Limiter Removal. Limiter Removal was limited for this tournament. I think it probably should be limited in Junior Journey as well. This card is just bananas, as we will see in the games. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 3 copies of Bottomless Trap Hole, and 2 copies of just regular old Trap Hole. Whenever I was trying to figure out what would make this machine deck stand out in a pool of possible other machine decks, it occurred to me that BES Tetran and Ancient Gear Golem are pretty strong cards, and Mirror Force doesn't mean a whole lot to them, which is why actually Mirror Force was demoted to the side deck for this tournament. Bottomless Trap Hole and Trap Hole are the best ways to deal with the strongest monsters in this format, because you can just pop them before they get to use their attack or their effects. 1 copy of Royal Decree shuts down trap cards on the field, sets up OTKs. 1 copy of Torrential Tribute, Dust Tornado, and Call of the Haunted to round out our trap cards. In the side deck, we've got our 1 of Jinzo. Maybe this should have been in the main deck. It's a machine, and combining this with Limiter Removal is pretty fucking gnarly. But 2400 is still kind of low in this format, so it starts off in the side deck. Our 1 singular copy of Blue Eyes that we get this tournament. 2 copies of Despair from the Dark, 3k booty, and it's an anti-delinquent duo. The End of Anubis, we've got 2 copies of it to negate effects in the graveyard. 1 Exiled Force, just in case we're running into problems that spells and traps can't deal with. 1 copy of Megamorph. I was originally maining multiple copies of this, which is why this was titled on Dueling Book Machine OTK. I ended up siding it because just a lot of the spells and traps I ended up putting in the main deck are a lot more consistent. 1 copy of Nobleman of Extermination demoted to the side deck because we have 3 copies of BES Tetran and 2 of MST to deal with back row. 2 additional copies of System Down to counter other machine decks. 3 copies of Curse Seal, the Forbidden Spell, if I really want to get rid of a problematic spell card completely. And our 1 copy of Mirror Force. So that is the deck. Let's take a look and see how it did. Alright, for the first match of the tournament, I am up against T. Steenhoek 18. He has come to the table with an Elemental Hero deck and has the first move. So he sets his bottomless and then just immediately card destructions away both his and my entire hand. I don't really mind it too much, except I am now left without any strong monsters, so I just set a UFO-Roid and pass it back. My opponent summons Elemental Hero Wildheart, activates Creature Swap to get my face-down monster, hoping that it will be something big and strong, but unfortunately, it's my UFO-Roid. And whenever I destroy UFO-Roid, I get to use its effect. So I try to summon Perfect Machine King, it immediately gets bottomless, which means it gets banished from the game. And then I'm just able to use the Wild Heart I got from my opponent to attack into my own UFO-Roid. This isn't amazing because I already drew a heavy mech support platform, so I just summon another UFO-Roid, attack into the face-down card. It's a DD Warrior Lady. Steenhoek decides not to activate the effect here. After a little bit of thought, I decide to use my own creature swap, sending UFO-Roid to my opponent's side of the field and getting a DD Warrior Lady in return. T. Steenhoek summons Gogiga Kagagigo. Wildheart is gone, and I take life point damage. I'm still not too terribly concerned yet. I have my opponent down a lot of cards. Additionally, at this moment, I pull Ancient Gear Golem. I get Ancient Gear Golem, activate Brain Control to steal Gogiga Gagagigo, and just decide to get in for a shitload of damage. Ancient Gear gets in for piercing, and then I get to use UFO-Roid's effect to summon another copy of Heavy Mech Support Platform from my deck for additional damage, which leaves him down to just 1250, and then I'm able to activate Heavy Mech Support Platform's effect and equip it to Ancient Gear Golem, giving it more attack and extra protection. T. Steenhoek checks his graveyard and looks at his hand for a moment, but ultimately decides to concede the game. He could have activated card destruction and tried to get something else, but I did have a protected Ancient Gear Golem and a DD Warrior Lady on the field, which is a very difficult board to get past. System Down doesn't clear the field, Dark Hole doesn't clear the field, and no normal summonable monster can get past Golem. So we go into game 2. This time I'm up first. I decide to set good old Trap Hole, summon BES Tetran, which immediately gains 3 counters, which will make it very hard for T. Steenhoek to set anything next turn. He summons Trihorn Dragon, and I'm immediately able to Trap Hole it and take it off the field. He sets a hero signal and ends the turn. I start the turn by using BES Tetran to just immediately pop the hero signal, and I get in with Ancient Gear Golem. It may have been a misplay to attack with Tetran here because I do lose a counter, and that becomes relevant here when T. Steenhoek summons Cosmo Queen, attacks Tetran, and while it's not destroyed here, that is the last of Tetran's tokens, which means I can no longer pop my opponent's set card. So we move on to my turn. I switch Tetran to defense mode. I am able to change of heart Cosmo Queen. The game is not quite over yet though, because T. Steenhoek activates Wall of Revealing Light, paying 3,000 life points, leaving him down to just 200. So I'm stopped in my tracks for the time being. My opponent gets into the Tetran. It wasn't doing a whole lot on the field anyway. Summons Elemental Hero Sparkman and passes it back to me, and I just draw the win condition. I set Royal Decree with the intention of using it, and I do activate it at the end phase of this turn. Royal Decree negates all trap cards on the field, which means I can attack into either of the 2 elemental heroes and just win the game here. Alright, the second match I'm going up against Crazed Potato. Crazed Potato wins Rock, Paper, Scissors, decides to go first, and simply summons a BES Tetran, sets an MST. I am able to change of heart BES Tetran and just go right ahead and activate its effect, popping that set Mystical Space Typhoon. I also summon an Ancient Gear Golem, and this time I want to attack with the Tetran because it's not mine. So, end of the turn, Tetran goes back to Crazed Potato's side of the field, and it's only down to one counter left. However, Crazed Potato does have a Perfect Machine King for the Crackback, which has 3,700 attack at the time of attacking into Ancient Gear Golem, because there are two machines on the field. Now that Golem is gone, it's down to 3,200 attack. I'm able to activate System Down, paying 1,000 of my life points, and just banishing every single one of my opponent's machine monsters. Then I summon my own Perfect Machine King, get in for 2,700 damage, and set Bottomless Trap Hole. He just sets the Light Hex Sealed Fusion, sends it back to me, and I don't even need to worry about what the face down monster is because I summon Heavy Mech and activate Creature Swap, switching it over to my opponent's side of the field and giving me a attack position target to smack into and take out the rest of Crazed Potato's life points and take game 1. We are off to game 2. I go ahead and let Crazed Potato start it off. Crazed Potato summons Perfect Machine King, sets a Royal Decree. I decide to just start right off by activating Change of Heart, taking control of Perfect Machine King, summoning Ancient Gear Golem, and getting in for all but 1,800, I believe. Yep. So end of the turn, Change of Heart expires, it goes back to my opponent's side of the field, and I really want to emphasize that at this point, I thought I was going to 2-0 my way into the final. I was 100% convinced that there was nothing that Crazed Potato could do to stop me from winning next turn. I had an Ancient Gear Golem up on the field, which isn't as strong as Perfect Machine King, but is still a big body. I have Torrential Tribute for anything my opponent summons. I have System Down for the next turn. And I have a Jinzo, which means that anything that my opponent has face down isn't going to stop me. Plus, I still have 8,000 life points. I haven't lost a single life point at this turn. I am 100% convinced that I'm going to win here. So, here's what happens. Crazed Potato summons Jinzo in attack mode and activates Limiter Removal. Let's do math for a second. Perfect Machine King has 2,700 attack gains, 500 for every other machine on the field, so it's up to 3,700 at the time of Limiter Removal's activation. That 3,700 is doubled to 7,400 attack on Perfect Machine King. Perfect Machine King attacks into Ancient Gear Golem. I take 3,400 points of damage, leaving me at 4,600. Limiter Removal doubled Jinzo's attack from 2,400 to 4,800, which allows my opponent to attack directly and win the fucking game. So we start off game 3, 1 game apiece, with me still kind of in shock from the way I lost last game. Little did I know that the face down card was Royal Decree, so my Torrential Tribute was never resolving either way. But that still shows how powerful of a card Limiter Removal is. In game 3 though, Crazed Potato's able to start off with an Ancient Gear Golem, but I counter with a Perfect Machine King, which is able to get over it with 3,200 attack. Ancient Gear Golem falls and Perfect Machine King goes back to 2,700, but Crazed Potato still doesn't have anything in his hand strong enough to counter that. He decides to set an M's the Infinity, which is a card that looks good whenever you read the effect. The problem is, it is by design good enough to beat a monster 1 turn from now, whereas usually you need a card that will beat a monster now. At this point, I summon Heavy Mech Support Platform and equip it to Perfect Machine King, bringing it up to 3,200 attack. System Down banishes Perfect Machine King, which means it gets around the protection Heavy Mech Support Platform provides. Crazed Potato summons an M's and attacks in for 2,500 damage. But once again, I'm able to summon a Perfect Machine King, and with a 3200 body, just slam into the infinity. Crazed Potatoes able to special summon Sidra and normal summon Barrel Dragon. Now, if this effect resolves, I'm not dead here. And unfortunately for Crazed Potato, it doesn't resolve anyway. There's nothing he can do but end his turn and send it back to me, where I activate Change of Heart and take Barrel Dragon. This is a little bit of a spoiler. I decide to activate Barrel Dragon's effect here, but based on the math, I didn't need to. I can summon Mechanical Hound, which I do in a minute, and Perfect Machine King goes up to 4200 attack. When attacking into Sidra, that is 2100 off of Crazed Potato's total, and then Barrel Dragon plus Mechanical Hound is more than enough to finish off the rest. I don't bother doing the math before I activate Barrel Dragon's effect though, so we go through this first. And I do indeed resolve Barrel Dragon's effect, completely needlessly, and I take the second match, bringing me into the finals. Here we are in the finals. I am dueling against Kalins, who is coming to the table with a Koala OTK deck, and I genuinely love that for him. What I don't love, though, is that I draw one of the worst opening hands my deck is capable of. Not a single worthwhile monster in here. Kalin starts by activating Thunder of Ruler, which keeps me from attacking this turn, but it's completely unnecessary because there's nothing I want to attack with anyway. So I just set Heavy Mech Support Platform to try to keep myself from getting OTK'd and set a Torrential Tribute. Kalin sets a Mystic Tomato and a Mirror Force. And once again, I just draw a Call of the Haunted, which is not good if I don't draw a monster first. I am getting just demolished by these awful draws. Kalin gets tired of waiting, flips Mystic Tomato into attack mode. I decide to chain Torrential Tribute to destroy all monsters on the field, which turns out to be pretty solid because it stops Summoner of Illusions going off and it stops Mystic Tomato from resolving. I set a Royal Decree here, which ultimately ends up being my doom. Neither of us are drawing worthwhile monsters in the slightest. Kalin finally draws a Sangan, summons it to the field, and attacks into my UFO-roid. Bouncing off of it, Kalin takes 200. At this point, I finally draw a strong monster, and I make the decision to activate Royal Decree. I think retrospectively that was a bad decision, but at the time it felt very good to activate Creature Swap, send UFO-roid to my opponent's side of the field, forgetting to switch it into attack position first, but still getting to resolve its effect and summon a Heavy Mech Support Platform to the field, attacking in with both Sangan and Heavy Mech. And then in main phase 2, I activate Heavy Mech Support Platform, equip it to Perfect Machine King. My logic here was that I had gone so long without drawing a powerful monster that now that I had one, I should do whatever I could to protect it at all costs. So, equip it with Heavy Mech Support Platform, activate Royal Decree so trap cards couldn't resolve. I was hoping that this Perfect Machine King would stick around. And unfortunately, that is not what happens. Kalin has the out in the form of summoning Catapult Turtle, activating Brain Control. He goes to battle phase, attacks with Perfect Machine King. It has 3200 attack at this point because of Heavy Mech Support Platform. Kalin attacks into his own Sangan and is able to resolve it. He attacks directly with Catapult Turtle, getting an extra 1000 points of damage, and then for the kicker, resolves Catapult Turtle's effect, tributing off Perfect Machine King for another 1600 points off my life points, And now Perfect Machine King is gone. The monster that I spent so much work trying to protect. At least I'm able to draw a Monster Reborn at this point. Bringing back Perfect Machine King and taking out Catapult Turtle before any additional shenanigans ensue. Ultimately, the problem is, no matter how afraid I was of losing my Perfect Machine King, I put myself in a position by activating Royal Decree where all of the cards that I drew for turn, because I wasn't getting other cards, I couldn't activate them. I drew too many trap cards, sure, but once I activated Royal Decree, I couldn't even use them, essentially cutting down my pool of cards even more. At this point, Kalins activates Creature Swap, gives me his Mother Grizzly, takes my Perfect Machine King, destroys his own Mother Grizzly, uses its effect to summon another copy of Catapult Turtle, gets in for 1,000 points of damage, and then activates Catapult Turtle's effect, sacrificing my Machine King for the second time this game, and winning Duel 1. So, Game 2, I have lost the first one with a miserably bad hand, so I'm not feeling great, but this one at least is a lot better. We go ahead and let Kalins go first. He sets a Kaiser Glider and a Waboku. I go ahead and activate Nobleman of Extermination. Kalins chains Waboku, which nulls the effect of Nobleman of Extermination. I set a Dust Tornado. And I go ahead and decide to set Ancient Gear Golem as well. That's the thing about this fucking monster. It also has 3,000 defense in addition to fucking everything else. Kalins flip summons Kaiser Glider, attacks into Golem, bounces off of it for 600 damage. In main phase 2, he summons Sangan, and then activates fucking Creature Swap to give me his Sangan and take my Ancient Gear Golem, set a Threatening Roar, but at the end phase of the turn, I'm able to activate Dust Tornado and take out Threatening Roar before it has the chance to activate. So this is not the best situation in the world to be in. My opponent has stolen my massive monster and given me one of his recruiters in return. However, it's not a completely untenable situation, so I start off by activating Brain Control, taking Kalin's Ancient Gear Golem, which is my Ancient Gear Golem, but will go back to Kalin's side of the field at the end of the turn because Creature Swap. I attack into Kaiser Glider, which triggers its effect. Kalins goes for his Sangan, which I figured was what would happen, which sets his Sangan back a turn in being able to activate it. Main phase 2, I summon BES Tetran, put 3 counters on it. At the end phase, Kalins gets the Ancient Gear Golem back, but at least the Kaiser Glider and Sangan are set back a bit. So at this point, Kalins does a move that is designed to take out my BES Tetran. He summons Mystic Tomato, attacks into it. Even though BES Tetran wins the battle, it still loses a counter here. So Kalins is able to use Mystic Tomato, summon another Mystic Tomato, attack it into Tetran. Tetran loses a counter. Mystic Tomato's effect activates here to summon a Witch of the Black Forest. Witch of the Black Forest attacks into BES. Once again, Kalins loses the battle, but now my Tetran doesn't have any counters anymore. Furthermore, Kalins is able to resolve Witch of the Black Forest and add a Tribe-Infecting Virus to his hand, and finally Ancient Gear Golem deals the final blow on Tetran. And that would have been a good turn if I didn't have Change of Heart and Barrel Dragon. I steal my opponent's Ancient Gear Golem. Combined, this is 5,600 damage. Unfortunately, I would not have been in range to win this turn if it hadn't been for Kalins attacking into my BES with Witch and Tomato repeatedly. Although I guess in that case I would have still had a BES Tetran on the field to add to my attack power, so I don't know. It's certainly difficult to be on the receiving end of Change of Heart. We head into Game 3, 1 game apiece. This is for the finals. Kalins sets Summoner of Illusions, sets Threatening Roar, I decide to start off with Nobleman of Extermination. Kalen's chains his threatening roar, so I'm not attacking this turn, which I don't care too much about. I set my UFO Roid and pass it back. Kalen summons Sangan in attack mode and flips up Summoner of Illusion, sacrificing Sangan in order to summon Cyber End Dragon. He also gets to resolve Sangan's effect here, since it was tributed by Summoner of Illusions. So Kalen's uses Cyber End Dragon, attacks into UFO Roid. I take the piercing damage, but I am able to activate UFO Roid's effect. Unfortunately, I sided out of my second copy of UFO Roid for this third match, which turns out to have been a mistake, as I summon Heavy Mech Support Platform, but it cannot stand up to the 800 attack Summoner of Illusions. Kalen sets Waboku. At the end of the turn, Cyber End Dragon goes to the graveyard. Summoner of Illusions effect is only for the turn. I decide to set an Ancient Gear Golem because I saw from Sangan that my opponent got a Gora Turtle, and I'm not super happy about that. Gora Turtle did not show up at all in our first two games. And if it had, I probably would have sided in a copy of Exiled Force. As it is, very few of my cards are equipped to handle this. And BES Tetran is equipped to handle this, but I don't realize it. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't realize at the time that BES got under Gora Turtle. I think my brain just like categorized it with all of my other massive monsters that don't need tributes, so I just didn't bother to double check its attack versus Gora Turtle's limit. But yeah, I could have just summoned BES Turtle and taken out Gora Turtle at any point in this, but because I don't realize that, Kalen's is able to set another copy of Summoner of Illusions. Kalen's at this point gets out his own BES Tetran, removes a counter to get rid of my Dust Tornado. Now at this point, Kalen's could have flipped summoned Summoner of Illusions, tributed Gora Turtle, and gone for a powerful monster. There just wasn't realistically gonna be a way for him to win the game here. So I draw Blowback Dragon, and it looks like this fucking card is gonna save my ass one last time. As I continue to ignore the BES Tetran, I resolve Blowback Dragon's effect for the first time. And it's a hit. Gora Turtle is off the field, and I'm able to take control of the duel. I flip both of my set Ancient Gear Golems to attack mode. Attack into Summoner of Illusions, dealing 2200 damage, 2100 damage to Kalen's. And at this point, before attacking, I'm trying to remember if Summoner of Illusions is mandatory, because if it is, that would mean that if I attacked into it, Kalen's would be forced to tribute BES Tetran, which would be really good for me. And as it turns out, that is how it plays. Summoner of Illusions triggers, BES Tetran goes to the graveyard. Kalen's does get a Koala out of the deal. He summons Master of Oz to the field, but it's only here for the duration of this turn, so I'm able to pass it back to Kalen's, and Master of Oz falls, and now Kalen's is stuck with no monsters. Things aren't quite done yet, though. Kalen summons Gora Turtle, and I still haven't noticed the BES Tetran in my hand. I activate Blowback Dragon's effect, target Gora Turtle. And I miss. So I decide to destroy the face-down card Kalen's has. It's a Waboku, which didn't matter too much. I wasn't planning on attacking this turn anyway. I set a bottomless trap hole and pass it back. Kalen's draws another Waboku, sets it, switches Gora Turtle to defense mode. I trigger Blowback Dragon, and I miss again, so I just send it back to Kalen's. Kalen's draws a Kaiser Glider, which had the potential to get a bit messy for me, but I do have the bottomless, so I don't have to worry about it. I draw a Dark Hole, which technically isn't out to Gora Turtle, but I don't really want to go that hard yet. I don't want to destroy my Ancient Gear Golems. So I try to use Blowback Dragon again, and it's another fucking miss. So I pass it back to Kalins. He draws a Mystic Tomato, summons it in face-up attack position, probably to play around Nobleman of Crossout, and sends it back to me. I activate Blowback Dragon. This time, I decide to target Mystic Tomato. I decide that I don't really want Kalins getting to search what he wants to search with this deck. This time it does go through. This time I am able to get that Mystic Tomato off the field. Kalins passes it back to me. I activate Blowback Dragon once again. We've got a heads and a tails. And we have the heads. I take out Gora Turtle. Kalins does have a Waboku to last one more turn. The problem is he doesn't have any cards to stop the onslaught that's coming next turn. So he concedes the game, and I win the match. And that's the tournament. Thank you all for watching, and congrats to the other participants in the tourney. I had a lot of fun. I'd say this is my favorite deck I have piloted for a tournament. I'll be participating in another one this weekend, and this one I will be live streaming on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JessieJPlays. Tournament starts 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I will start my stream a half hour before then, if nothing goes wrong, to do a deck profile before I start dueling. Hope you are well, and I'll see you next time.